A narcissistic person will go all out to trivialise your boundaries because they lack the respect and they lack the empathy to care for your personal boundaries. They are purely interested in getting their sense of entitlement met by you. Now, boundaries are individual from person to person, just like your boundary line around your home. Some people will have fences, some people will have hedges, some people won't have anything there. They're individual to that particular person. And just like the neighbour you live next door to, some people might expect their neighbour to knock on their door. Some people might expect their neighbour to ask before they borrow things. Some people might expect their neighbour just to walk into their home just as they just walk into the other person's home. It's about that mutual respect, and it's usually rules that both parties agree with. So for example, if one neighbour just goes and borrows another neighbour's item, then that neighbour might also go and borrow the other neighbour's item. Vice versa, works both ways, and nobody's particularly offended. And if anyone accidentally breaks something, they own up to it and they replace it. When it comes to a narcissistic person, they are that neighbour that feels entitled to encroach on your property, to take your stuff, and then deny your knowledge of ever seeing it. Yet you are not allowed to borrow any of their things because that's theirs, not yours. However, when it comes to your things, that's theirs, not yours. So when it comes to a narcissistic person, it just doesn't compute within their mind. It's their sense of entitlement. Now, what does compute is the perception that other people might then think of them due to their actions, which is why they'll go all out to trivialize your boundaries. And it's a power trip. It's to remain in control. It's to be the master of you. It's to keep their sense of superiority over you. So some narcissistic people, when it comes to your boundaries, they just don't get it. They just don't recognize it. They're just not interested. Their entitlement takes over and they walk straight over them, and they go all out to make you feel stupid, to make you feel dumb, to make you feel insignificant, to make you feel like your boundaries are in the wrong, to protect their behaviour. With other narcissistic people, it's a game to them to see how far they can push you, to see how much they can get away with, to see how much they can break you before they bring you back up to the surface, to get a breath of air before they sink you all over again. So when it comes to your own personal boundaries, as we know these can differ from person to person, we are more than capable of questioning ourselves. We're also more than capable of changing our boundaries as we learn new things. So if you don't mind having a drink and you meet somebody who likes to have a drink every evening, you might just think, well, that's their life, that's on them, that's none of my business. Quite like the person, so it's completely up to them, doesn't negatively impact me. Yet as time goes on and you recognise that that person not only negatively impacts their own life, but they're negatively impacting other people's life, you might think, don't really want to spend my time around somebody who needs a drink at 12 o'clock, who needs a drink as soon as they wake up. Not necessarily an alcoholic, although they could be. And then you might distance yourself from people like that. Your boundaries change as your life lessons grow. If it's somebody you care deeply for, you might go all out to try and help and support them. And as they have an addiction, they can have quite a few narcissistic tendencies, without being a narcissistic person, to exploit you in order to get their needs met, driven by their addiction, which is when they have to be willing and able to help themselves. You can only support people helping themselves. And when it comes to narcissistic people, they're going to help themselves to your stuff. You might not particularly like shoes being worn in your home, yet you might recognise that some people don't particularly mind this. You might not like a joke at your expense, especially on some form of special occasion. However, you can recognise that some people don't mind a joke at special occasions. Some people don't mind to have that giggle. And it's whether these things have been communicated to each other. There's a lot when it comes to special occasions, videos surfacing around the internet of husbands face planting their wives into the cake. Now, some wives won't mind this. Some wives will see the humour in this. Some people don't mind this at all. Therefore, there's not going to be a big issue. That's how that couple works together. However, some do mind this. And it's not just the wives that get it done to. In some cases, it's the wife doing it to the husband. And again, if the husband doesn't mind this and it's all just who they are as a couple, then that's great. That's who they are as a couple. However, if the husband or wife has specifically stated that they do not want this to happen, and then they go right ahead and it happens, they have no respect for the other person's feelings. Instead, they've gone all out to humiliate that person. Even though the special occasion's about them as well, they've got to share the limelight and they don't like this. So they go all out to humiliate the other person. And then they accuse the other person of overreacting and being too sensitive to trivialise their feelings and experience, and gain enablers to say, oh, come on, it was just a bit of a joke. They were only having a laugh at your expense, which you specifically asked them not to do. You see this on baby shower videos, where they do things to seemingly sabotage it and then actually come together and show it for what it is, and the event goes well, but they just do something in that moment to make their partner shocked or hurt. And when it's a mutual joke, mutual understanding, when the other person doesn't mind that sort of behaviour and finds the humour in that sort of behaviour, and the other person makes sure that they're okay afterwards, and if the person who's had the prank played on them turns around and says, actually that went a little bit too far, and the other person recognises this and has the empathy to care and, sorry, I didn't mean to take it too far, I'll make sure I run it by you in the future, or I'll not do that again, then that's how that couple works. So when you can see these sorts of dynamics, it's difficult to recognise when a narcissistic person is systematically taking down your personal boundaries and then trivialising them, accusing you of being too sensitive, accusing you of being awkward and stubborn and selfish, accusing you of overreacting, of not being able to take a joke. Only they're not joking. They go all out to humiliate you. And then when you try to be open and vulnerable and honest with them and discuss your feelings with them, they lack the empathy to care, and they lack the respect for your personal thoughts and feelings. So they go all out to make out that your boundaries are in the wrong somehow and not their behaviour. So you're left full of self-doubt, you're left questioning yourself all the more. And what's worse is you're often left more dependent on seeking the validation from them about whether or not your feelings are in the right. So when it comes to a narcissistic person, there's nothing wrong with your personal boundaries, because as you respect other people's, other people, genuine people, will respect yours. When it comes to a narcissistic person, due to their arrogance, due to their sense of entitlement, due to their exploitative behaviour, due to their lack of empathy, they do not respect your boundaries. They find ways to purposefully humiliate you, especially in front of an audience, so that they can accuse you of the one who's too sensitive, the one who's boring, the one who's dull, the one who can't take a joke. So you go further and further into yourself, questioning yourself, doubting yourself, while the person who claims to love and care about you is changing who you are as a person into a shell of your former self, as you no longer can recognise your own worth. You're no longer able to communicate your boundaries for fear of being humiliated, for fear of feeling stupid, because they've destroyed that self-worth within you. When it comes to your personal boundaries, the first time you communicate them with somebody and they violate them, that is the time to walk away from that person. Because if you've communicated your boundaries to them and they've gone right ahead and walked straight over them, they lack the respect to care about them. They're just going to, it's like drawing a line in the sand. You draw a line, they're going to come and they're going to step over that boundary. So you draw another line and they're going to come and they're going to step over that boundary. So you draw another line and they're going to come and they're going to step over that boundary. And they're going to keep pushing until you say no more. When you say no more, they're going to try and push back because they're used to getting what they want from you, which is when their never-ending tantrums come out to play, when they try to guilt trip you in some way, when they go all out to project onto you, when they go all out to triangulate you with somebody else and claim that, well, so-and-so didn't mind. Well, so-and-so is a completely different person. They're trying to get you to compare yourself to others, to question yourself, to doubt yourself, rather than looking at their hurtful behaviour. So as difficult as this is, as soon as you communicate your boundary with somebody and they walk straight over it, that first time is the time to walk away from that relationship, because if they don't respect you the first time, they're not going to respect you the second, the third, the fourth or the fifth. Yes, you can give somebody a chance if you wish to do so. However, when you give them the chance and they repeat that behaviour, they're not interested in you. They're interested in getting their needs met by you, and that is a big red flag. If anyone has any thoughts on this video, please do add those into the comments for people reading through. Thank you very much to all the returning subscribers and your continued support on the channel. This channel is all about narcissistic behaviour, to give you more understanding of the people you might be dealing with within your life, how to handle yourself around those people if you cannot go no contact, and different methods to find what works for you to help you understand and overcome narcissistic and emotional abuse. If you do find the information helpful on the channel, please do subscribe. If you are looking for further help and support in understanding and overcoming narcissistic and emotional abuse, I do have several online guides available, and those teachable links are in the video description. If you're looking for someone to speak to, I have partnered with BetterHelp, and their sponsored link is also in the video description. I do also have a couple of books out on Amazon, a Narcissists Handbook, which is the ultimate guide to understanding and overcoming narcissistic and emotional abuse, and 15 rules to deal with narcissistic people if you are unable to go no contact. I'll add the link to those in the description if you'd like to check those out. Go out there and create the day that you deserve, because you do deserve to have an amazing day. Bye.